Michelle. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, got it. We good to go? Okay. Hey, everybody, it's Michelle Faulkner Forson with Story Tapestries, and today is our second Tech Savvy Soundbyte. I want to give a shout out to our support and our sponsors that made this project and this opportunity possible, and that's Comcast Universal, Comcast NBCUniversal, Omni Systems, the Maryland State Arts Council, and the Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County. Thank you very much. And today, I just want to let you know that this Tech Savvy Soundbite is just a small piece in collaboration with the bigger project, which is the Digital Solutions That Bridge the Divide, which we have some free digital foundations courses coming up in January. And I said it, I'm gonna say it again, free. Okay, we're being recorded. But this is a free opportunity for people who are interested in building foundations and digital resources. You can register on storytapestries.org and they'll give you more information. One more time, it starts January 2022. All right, but before we get started, I want to thank my next two lovely colleagues for coming on today and giving us some great tips about tech. So I will hand it over to Miss Arianna Ross, who is the CEO of Story Tapestries, and Miss Lorienne Beals, who is the development director. Or is there another name, Lorienne?
I recently changed to this fancy Chief Development Officer title.
That's what it is.
I can't even seem to say it myself.
So I want to thank you two ladies for being the second people to come on the Tech Savvy Soundbite to share information about how you evolved, how you use tech, and just how someone else could use tech in the way in which you have used it. So I'm going to shut up and pass it on to you ladies.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it. As Michelle said, I'm Arianna Ross. I'm the CEO of Story Tapestries. And I think what's important to sort of recognize is sort of a good part of my role is networking and raising money. And pretty much, again, a good part of Lorienne's role is networking and raising money. So our technology angle that we're focusing on today is in some ways how we have leveraged technology to help us raise money, to help us make connections. So if you're listening or if you're watching later on, I want you to start thinking about, frame it for yourself. How could you take yourself and your job to the next level? Whatever that is, if you're an artist and you want to go to the next level, if you are an operations administrator, how do you want to take yourself to the next level? Because the same strategies that we used are the same strategies that you might use in your own sort of tools and toolbox. Lorienne has been with Story Tapestries from the very beginning. What was sort of left out, but not left out, is that I am actually the founding director of Story Tapestries. And honestly, Lorienne was the founding employee of Story Tapestries. She trucked along when our budget, what was our budget in the very beginning? Do you remember?
Right around 75,000. Yeah.
Do you realize that was when we got our first grant, Lorienne? So you're blocking out our postcard budget. So then there's a 990N, which was actually our budget was $5,000. And then we got our first grant and it was 75. But our first sort of little budget was $5,000 and we had to submit a 990N, which was pretty cool. And now we are, at our first financial review. So you might be thinking, yeah, but what does that have to do with me? Well, everybody has their own beginning point. A not-for-profit's beginning point is a 990 yen. Your beginning point might be different. So Lorienne, do you want me to share the slides of our overview and you give us a little background, and then we'll dive right into all the good stuff. So give me 1 second. So one tool that I learned is if you want to actually see yourself while you're presenting, you have to share it in non-presentation mode and then turn it into presentation mode. Otherwise, you can't see yourself on Zoom when you don't have two screens. And to be perfectly frank, sometimes even on two screens, I couldn't figure out how to see myself without doing it this way. All right. So do you want me to give the little background, or Lorienne, you want to give the little background?
Well, I think we can probably share a little bit so you can fill in gaps, but I can speak a little bit to the initial process. So I think what's important is when I first started working with Arianna, and I first met Arianna, she was working as an independent artist. And I think this is a really important part of the history, because essentially what she realized as an independent artist was that she was already partnering with schools, with other nonprofit organizations, libraries, community centers, and she was doing research and helping them identify funds and submit grant applications to get funding to be able to bring her in as an artist, to do performances, to lead workshops, to do artist in residencies. And so ultimately, I was there in those first months of transition. And the vision was, how can we take this work that Arianna is doing that is supporting her existence as an artist while also benefiting these different communities who are engaging with her and getting to experience, her work, and expand that so that more artists are getting this kind of work and more communities are bringing in artists and have the monetary capacity to do that. And as Arianna researched the different options, she felt like incorporating as a 501c3 nonprofit was really the best way to be able to have the greatest impact and to add the most value to our community. And so to start off a nonprofit, one of the first things that you do is to write down a mission and a vision, and then you create a whole bunch of other documents. We have bylaws that help govern and decide how we do things. We establish a board that helps make decisions together and helps govern the organization. So really what you need in that beginning phase is a team of people who share the same mission and vision. So, when you have an idea about a value that could be added to the community, you really want to first, just like creating a business plan, if you're creating a for-profit business, you have to lay that foundation. And as you do that, then you want to talk about it and see who gets excited, who says, oh my gosh, that's such a cool idea. How can I be a part of it? And those are the people that you want to have on your board initially. Then as you grow, of course, that evolves, right? So you want board members that have different expertise in different areas that will help support you. And so they'll help maybe with financial management or with marketing or strategic planning, right? But in that first phase, what's really important is finding a team of people that believe in the same mission and vision that you have. And honestly, that applies also to students. If you're a young student who's trying to plan your future and figure out your next steps, Arianna mentioned about artists, about people who are maybe transitioning in their career. A lot of people have had to make changes in the last couple of years and sort of redefine their path. And so that's some of what we want to talk about. And Story Tapestries has done that, right? So it started with that initial evolution of that one person sort of small independent business model, if you will, and made that first step of evolution into a nonprofit. That was part of our path. So Arianna, what were some of the pros and cons from your perspective about that shift? We're actually still on the that last question there.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be really quick about that because I feel like you already went straight into the most important things. I think the pros and cons are, one pro is just that you're able to leverage being, so I really think what it is to go from artist to entrepreneur and not-for-profit leader is, if you want to think about, do you want to take your independent business and make it in some ways to incorporate it into a business? There are grants, there are applications, there are things that you can apply for, programs you can participate in that you can't participate in when you are a solo individual artist. Like, as a chamber of commerce, as a business, the level of participation is different than when you're an individual who works for someone else. Now, sometimes you might be thinking, oh, but wait a second, I run my own business already. So you might be an artist who is like already an entrepreneur because you treat your artistry or you treat your individual work like you are already a company. Now, let's say you're like, but I have no desire to start a business. I have no desire to become a not-for-profit. I would say that the next set of tools are things that apply to anyone and anything. I would say the only con is it is in some ways hard work to navigate being in charge of a team of people during COVID. I felt very much the pressure of ensuring that everybody ate, that everybody had, that there was enough money coming in to ensure that everybody kept a roof over their head, including independent artists who work with us. And boards are complicated. Working with a board is complicated, but it's worth it. I would say that one of the things that is important that you want to think about is, and I'm going to, based on time, Lorienne, I'm going to talk quickly about this so we can get into all the tools, all the different ways that you can leverage it. So regardless of who you are and what you do, I love this statement: relationships are like gold. Okay, relationships are like gold. Never burn bridges. Be authentic, be prepared, connect with people online, follow up, follow up, follow up. Always personalize, know your audience. So know your audience and connect with people online. I think we're going to spend a chunk of time talking about that. But research. So I will give you an example of not doing research. When I first graduated from college, I was 21 years old. The internet was not something you spent a lot of time on. I know, shocker, right? Did not spend a lot of time on, and I knew that there was this man that I was recommended I connect with, Anmol Villani. I had no idea who he was. I couldn't really research him, and I didn't really think to go to the library, look him up. I was like, all right, well, someone said I should call him. It wasn't until after I spoke with him that I discovered that he was actually the head of the Indian Foundation for the Arts. It'd be like talking to the head of the National Foundation for the Arts for the United States. Pretty big person. I didn't know. And at that time, it was okay because I was young and there wasn't the same level of expectation. But now, before I meet anyone, I go online, I research them, I find out about them, I connect with them, I know who they are. I see, are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? I start to look up all the technological ways that I can connect with them, even before I meet with them in person, so that they know I genuinely care about them as a person and not just like want to leverage them for what they're giving my organization, whom we are. I'm very authentic about my approach to things. And part of that authenticity is connecting with them online so that they know that their voice matters to me. Is there anything else you want to add about that before we dive into sort of the different groups that you can belong to and the ways online that you can leverage people?
Sure. I think the one thing that I wanted to say about authenticity is, I think so many times we are maybe pushed towards or have the sensation that there's a benefit to giving the idea that we share the same likes and interests when maybe we really don't. And so I think that if you are authentic in your message and you carry that message with you, first of all, you don't have to worry about getting confused about who you told what, because if you're just telling your own truth, it'll always be right. But also, I think people can really identify and connect with that and appreciate whatever you're adding to the story that maybe they haven't heard before. So it's not always about matching and having the same interests, but about sharing your interests authentically so that people can connect with and be excited about what you're talking about. So I think that's something to be aware of in your relationship development, that it's not always about being the same, but it's about finding connections. And I think one of the important ways of developing, when you're not really sure what to say, or maybe you're first reaching out, you do that research on a LinkedIn profile and you see, oh, look, they're connected to, a particular social group, or maybe they won a specific award for something or were recognized for work that they've done. A great way to start a conversation is by asking a question. If you're not sure about maybe what to share or how to start the conversation, starting with a question or following up with a question is always a really beautiful way to engage in conversation and start to hear and listen to people's stories, so that then it creates opportunity for you to share your own.
Absolutely. I think that's really, really valuable that people see that and they understand that. And I also think something you said that really sticks to me is that you said you don't have to be the same, you need to find that connection. And I think that goes to the next piece of the puzzle, which is resource for networking. I took it off to share the screen so they could focus on our faces. I don't know if you don't mind spotlighting or pinning myself and yourself so that they can see both of us at the same time. Sometimes a speaker.
You two are pinned.
We are pinned.
Yes, I've pinned you.
You've pinned me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I did wonder though if we were pinned because Lorienne is the one that it's live feeding from.
Both of you all are pinned.
Excellent.
So you both have been up the entire time.
Beautiful. Fabulous. I just had a realization that in my screen, I was looking at it and I was like, so again, technology, right?
I got your back.
I appreciate that.
It takes a village. Don't forget that.
Oh, and I think that goes into that, Michelle, though, that goes to the next part, which is the resources for networking, is that I think it's important, like we listed in here, and I'm not going to pull the screen up again because we can talk through this. Chamber of Commerce, social networks, Rotary, Oddfellows, Kiwanis, LinkedIn, Facebook, industrial related resources, not-for-profit Montgomery. I think it's important, out of curiosity, before we dive into those, are there any that we've left out? Michelle, do you have any? Lorienne, any networking groups online or in person? Like I thought of immediately Alternate Routes. Has online Facebook groups as well as it is an in-person, networking group. American Alliance for Theater and Education. Michelle, do you have any groups?
What I found to be helpful and interesting, and I think I came across this during COVID myself, but there are so many groups on Facebook for whatever interest you have, literally. So if you're looking for like-minded people and people that are sharing resources, start there too, because typically you'll have to answer some short survey to get into the group. Make sure you're not crazy or something. And then you're in there. You are aligned, that you're aligned, absolutely. And then people will get you in, and then it's like tons of resources and people having, valuable conversations. So I would say that one too.
Yeah, nice. I've had that same experience. I've been participating. There's a Nonprofits Unleashed is one of my favorite Facebook groups that people are so generous and really share a lot of resources and answer questions. And I found that to be really helpful. And then I also have gotten involved with some cohorts as well. So, Nonprofit Montgomery, Catalogs of Philanthropy. So of course, that's related to my interest and my role as a development director for a nonprofit. But it's been so important. Nonprofit Montgomery organized a table for 10. It was just an opportunity for development professionals to talk together about some of the issues that we're facing. We talked about tools and technologies and, project management tools and transitioning to a remote office. Story Tapestries from the time the organization was born has been a fully remote office. I think that's important to share. And so, we were really fortunate, I think, that we didn't have such a big transition to go through as a staff. But we did have a big transition to go through when it came to our programs and finding ways to continue to connect with people through our programs. And so being part of those networks really helped sort of talk through some of what we were seeing and how we could use technology to be able to stay connected.
And I think what's really important is just being aware of like that word connection. You keep hearing it over and over and over again, is how do you stay connected? So, I go to a lot of Chamber of Commerce events. I find them extremely valuable. I went to them virtually. I go to them in person. I belong to the Gaithersburg Chamber of Commerce. I belong to the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I think the different Chamber of Commerces are worth Bethesda Chamber of Commerce. And then I belong to, and there's two purposes, and people view Rotary in an interesting way, right? Some people do Rotary, they're retired, they're not business leaders, they're not connected in a business way at all. They do it because they just want to give back. And they're retired, and this is their way to give back. They want to have a social hour once a week to talk to people and then give back. I do Rotary for two purposes. I love giving back, but I also do it to meet business leaders, other business leaders, connect with other business leaders, learn from other business leaders, have a conversation with other business leaders. And that is really critical and really important to me and my growth. And so I think it's important that when you are thinking about what Rotary belong to, think about your purpose, why you're belonging to that Rotary. Go and visit multiple Rotary clubs in person. Go and visit them online. Do your research to know what you want to do and why you want to do it. Okay. And then make sure it's for the right reasons. Because trust me, if you're there for the wrong reasons, you'll be like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And you'll be frustrated and you'll be bored. There's a club that I joined years ago that I realized I didn't have the capacity to do. So right reasons and capacity. So do your research, figure out how often they meet. And I realized that I didn't have the capacity. I couldn't do it because for my family, it just didn't work. But I remain connected to that organization. It's called the Independent Order of the Odd Fellows. And yes, there are women in the Independent Order of the Odd Fellows. I always joke that the Independent Order of the Odd Fellows is a quirky group of individuals, intellectuals who want to give back and do good things in the community. I specifically I live in Poolesville, Maryland now, but I belong to the one in DC. And here's the reason I belong to that one. It is in the heart of DC, and it helps me remain connected to the DC community. And I wanted to be able to support a DC organization. But I will tell you, this is a group where if you looked at their website, you would have no idea what they do. Because they are completely untechnologically savvy. All of them. I had to teach them all how to use Zoom. Not all of them, but it is a good chunk are just technologically unsavvy. It's not a part of the way they do it. They're boots on the ground people. So I want to share this next slide, Lorienne, that we wrote up called Leveraging the Virtual Platforms. I sort of already talked about that, but I think that's really important because you're the genius when it comes to putting things up online and knowing what to do. And we talked a little bit about virtual cohorts, okay? Social media groups. I belong to a group called Events, and I get to just post events on there. Free webinars. But could you talk a little bit about the digital portfolio, what you think about, because I feel like you do this beautifully, both as an individual artist and for the organization itself.
Sure. Yeah. So so many tools have evolved and been developed to support individuals' ability to present themselves online. And, we mentioned doing research about people, but the research is only good as the information that's available. And so keeping your profiles updated on LinkedIn, on whatever platforms you choose and find to be most beneficial, because the choice in platform is also based on what your goals are. So like Arianna was saying about the groups that you choose to get involved in, the same is the case for the social media platforms that you're presenting yourself on. There are lots of tools out there like Content Cal or Hootsuite that are offering services to help you post across multiple platforms, which does not talk to your profile, but it does talk to continuously updating and getting info out there.
I'm going to interrupt for a second. I'd love for you to tell them a little bit about Content Cal / Hootsuite, because I actually think this is something that Michelle Clark, one of our board members, taught me. She said, what you post and what you share demonstrates your profile and demonstrates why people want to get to know you and represents you as a thought leader. So something that I'm always thinking about and I'm trying to get better about, and trust me, I'm not the best at this, is really presenting myself as a thought leader so that people know, oh, I want to go to Arianna to learn about X. I want to go to Lorienne to learn about Y. I want to go to Michelle. I want to learn. I want to discover those things. And I really am very strategic about what I share, even from the organization, to make sure that I'm reflecting that, because then that appears on my profile every time I share. So I feel like I didn't know about Hootsuite or Content Cal until I don't remember who gave us that information. Maybe you can give them a shout out and then just explain a little bit about, because there are free memberships, if I'm correct, so that anyone could use them. And then
there are various levels. Most of these tools, so both Hootsuite and I'm less familiar with Content Cal, so I don't want to speak about things that I'm not super knowledgeable about. I've used it as a tool, but I haven't, launched it as a subscription, as an account. But I know for sure Hootsuite starts with a free level, and then if you find that you need more out of it, there are some low cost subscriptions up to enterprise level business plans for larger businesses. So they're tools that grow with you based on what you need. But essentially, they allow you to do two primary things that are really important and helpful. One is that you can post the same content across multiple platforms, and they build in easy access to things like adding graphics. So while social media is an ever-changing landscape in terms of how algorithms work and things of that nature, what we know is sort of a baseline is that photos and videos tend to perform best. And so being able to integrate those elements quickly and easily into your posts is really important. And those tools help you do that. And then perhaps the even more important tool is that they give you analytics. So they let you see some key data and trending that shows you what posts you're sharing that are getting the most engagement, so that you can really focus on the things that are working the best, on the things that your network and communities care about the most. And so, it's one thing to have like intuition or sensations or feelings about how, what people really care about, or also to know what it is that you want to share, what your objective is in sharing. But to have that data that supports, you can discover things like maybe you thought that, older women would be interested, but you find out that actually it's young men that are paying attention to your posts. You can have some interesting surprises that come from data that can take you in new directions that maybe you didn't expect to go. And so I think those are some key added values from those services.
Something that you said that I think is also really important, and we put a slide together on this, so I'm going to share it again, was you had talked about when you are taking photographs of yourself or meeting with people, setting yourself up for success, right? I purposely have a background, and I'm going to take it down, and I'm going to show you why. On purpose, I put it up and took it down at the same time. Having a quiet space, using headphones. I don't use headphones for me because I have a learning disability, and the headphones really, really bother my ears, and they make it difficult for me to concentrate. But what I do is a neutral or professional background. I have a chair green screen that I use sometimes, and then I'll show you in a moment. And then I have good lighting. Now, if you notice, I have this lighting, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll add mine. I purposely left it off in the beginning, but I have and you can, sorry for a second, I have a ring light that I utilize. Sorry for a second. It unplugged while I was on, but I use this ring light, and I think it's important because sometimes in certain meetings, I want to be brighter, and other times I don't want to be as bright. And so if I
think the important thing about that is to, there are so many, experts now that can help you with these things. So even B&H Photo has their YouTube channels that you can check out, videos that give you some really great, fast and easy tips. And I might share some links in the comments to some quick tips that are really helpful. But, the key is that you want front lighting. You want lighting in front of you, because if you have lighting coming from behind you, then you end up being silhouetted. If it's coming directly from over you, you end up with shadows, right? So that's why the ring lights are an effective tool. And, I think if you have a quiet space, being able to go without having headphones can be nice. What's nice about the headphones is, one, it helps you maybe block out outside noise, but it also has built-in mechanisms to help cancel out external noise so that people really just hear your voice. And so that's part of the suggestion related to using headphones, in particular if maybe you can't be in a fully isolated, quiet room. Yeah.
Right. And I pointed out that, so here you look behind me, right? I moved a few months ago, and I'm putting in bookshelves finally. So I realized this morning I had boxes behind me. I was like, oh, that looks terrible. I have all these boxes because I need to finish unpacking my books. So I quickly was like, ooh, all right, hold on. We took our logo, and I made now some people don't like it because it does make you look like you have a halo. You know what I mean? You got the firm hair outline. But for me, I liked it better than otherwise. Now, in creating my digital portfolio, last year, I was doing something for fun. Michelle probably remembers this. Michelle, you might remember this background.
So, I do remember that.
The volcano. So you might be like, why did she put a volcano behind her? Well, because I was working with a group of students, and I leveraged the Zoom possible backgrounds to demonstrate how you can play with your background to set yourself in a scene. So I was a pretend CNN reporter. Okay. Whereas, at another time during our 10th anniversary gala, I changed my background to fit that. So one of the things that I love about Zoom and leveraging Zoom is that you can change your background to also suit your interview environment. So if I know that I'm at a Leadership Montgomery event, I might use a Leadership Montgomery background. However, if I need to be a little more neutral because I want to look professional, but I also want to, at the same time, not associate myself either with my organization or other, I use this background, which is really, really simple. Now, for me, because I'm the CEO of an organization, 90% of the time, I use this background because I want to tell people, look who I belong to, right? So you might create one. Maybe you don't have a logo yet, but you have a signature. Michelle Clark has this fabulous frame signature thing that she does that for me, it makes me always go, oh, that's Michelle. Like, I know that's Michelle. Even when I don't see her face, I just see her signature in her frame. Lorienne, I know you can't do a background, but I know you have certain things that are the Lorienne Beals like image because it connected to your dance. Whenever I see a photo of you doing, it's like, I call it the triangle body line.
Yeah, so I do on Zoom. I've uploaded, and right now I'm using my business account, so I have our logo. But when I am on my personal account, I have a picture of me dancing because I'm a dancer and I want to be identified as a dancer. And so my profile picture, so that if I turn my video off for any reason, then what you see instead is my profile picture. And you'll see it over on the participant list in Zoom as well. Next to my name, you'll see the small thumbnail of that. And so, yeah, that's definitely part of establishing your identity when you're using technology. And there's some really great tools now also. If you need just like a landing page or a very basic website, you know, WordPress is an incredible tool for doing very elaborate things. So you can go from the most simple, lots of free templates to the most elaborate custom designed websites. But there are also some really great, maybe newer tools like Squarespace. That happens to be what I use personally for my dancing and teaching website. You can also use tools like MailChimp. Besides having a mail service for being able to email out, it also has landing pages and very sort of easy to launch website templates. So there are all kinds of tools out there.
I feel like we have reached way beyond what we were supposed to do, which is typical of Lorienne and Arianna. So I wanted to make sure that we bring it to a close, because we could do a whole nother thing just on MailChimp and e-newsletters, like literally on the power of e-newsletters, and also the power and the pitfalls, because e-newsletters are a pain in the neck. Anywho, digital fundamentals. So please register. I have to admit, so this particular course, some people would be like, what does that have to do with Story Tapestries? Because we're not, only focused on digital. But I will tell you, this was a dream of mine from 2003. It was before Story Tapestries even existed. I was working at Children's Hospital doing art, music, and writing. And I saw there was this gap between who understood how to leverage the digital sort of world and who did not necessarily know how to leverage the digital world. And since then, I've sort of been on my own digital equity, digital exploration journey, and always trying to make sure that when we hit COVID, the first thing I did was find money. And Lorienne, I don't know if you remember me frantically being like, we need equipment. Everybody needs equipment. And then we were like, does the equipment owned by Story Tapestries or is it owned by the artist? And in this particular case during COVID, we bought things for the artists. For this program, we will be buying stuff that will specifically be leveraged by the program, but we will also be connecting the individuals who participate so that they're able to get access to these items and to other items like cameras, various things. Lorienne, is there anything else you want to say about digital fundamentals? Michelle, do you want to say anything?
Well, I would say these Tech Savvy Soundbytes are happening monthly, and so just a great way to get some little tips and tidbits. But if you want to go deeper, if any of the things we talked about today or in other Tech Savvy Soundbytes spark your interest and you're like, I need to learn more about that, the opportunity to really go deeper and learn more about the practical tools, as well as to connect with a network of professionals who can support with sort of next steps. If you want some guidance and mentorship around building your digital portfolio, there will be access, as Arianna was saying, to a loaning library. So for free, you'll be able to get access to high quality webcams, to cameras and tripods that you can set up for, recording self-tapes that you might use to present yourself for a college interview, for a new job interview, etc. So you have the access to the equipment and then also some guidance that throughout this, it's 10 hours in total, 2 hours once a month from January to May. And then for another 3 months after that, you're working with a mentor to continue to then use that information that you've learned in the 10 hours of coursework to really apply that towards the digital profile that's going to benefit you the most.
Yep. Absolutely. Come get some of this free mentorship. That's what I'm going to follow up and say.
Access. Free.
Yes, we have a lot of great people in our network. A lot of wonderful people are excited to share their information that they have. And please,
I know, and today, Michelle, we get to go shopping today, Michelle, because it's
yay, I love shopping.
we need to shop. Yeah, we gotta buy some equipment today. Woo, 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 woo.
Cyber Monday. Let your girl.
All right, we are gonna stop the live, stop the recording. Bye, everyone. Thank you.